Hey guys, hope you all are getting as excited for the hackathon as we are. We thought we would make a couple of web dev and game dev videos about the basics of some concepts you might want to know going in. So this video is going to cover HTML and CSS, which are two basic languages that are used pretty broadly in web development, and that we'll touch on in an awesome lecture by Heather and Madison at the hackathon. So what we're going to do is just go over some basics so you have at least an initial understanding of HTML and CSS. So what does HTML stand for? HTML stands for Hypertext Markup Language, and basically it's a pretty standard language that's used to help create pretty much any web page you see on the internet. Unlike TypeScript, which is going to be a logical language, HTML is really not concerned with things like algorithms or anything like that. It's just concerned with putting objects on a page and arranging them in relation to other objects on that page. So it's pretty simple comparatively. So this may look a little bit strange right now because if you haven't done any HTML before, this notation is going to be a little bit different. So as you can see here, we have a lot of things that are in these triangle brackets, and these are called tags. Almost everything in HTML that's going to be a different thing that's going to show up on your web page is going to have an opening tag, which is going to just have the two triangle brackets, and a closing tag, which is going to have the triangle brackets, a slash, and then whatever your tag's name was. So for pretty much any HTML document, we're going to say the document type is HTML. We're going to open our HTML tag, and then we're going to create something called the head. The head of the document holds the important information about what other kinds of documents might be related to this one, like other CSS pages that might give us some more information about how to style the web page, or things like the title that we're going to see at the top of the web page. So here we've declared a title by opening and closing our title tags, and we've just said that it's going to say HTML and CSS example. Pretty simple. So let's move on to the body of our web page. So we have to open and close a body tag, which is going to contain everything that is actually going to be displayed on our web page, and that's what the body is. Within our body here, we've got a couple more objects. So we've got an H1. So within HTML, there are a couple of different styles of headers that are already pre-formatted, and these are from H1 to H6. So an H1 is going to be a really big title, like what you might see at the top of a web page, and an H6 is going to be like a bolded title that's not that big. Other than that, we also have this P element, and that is going to be a paragraph. So this is going to be here, like the main text body of our web page. Cool. So let's see what this looks like in the browser. So all we need to do to launch this HTML file, since this is within my source folder, I'm just going to do npm start, and it's going to be in our Comp 110 workspace. Cool. So if we go here, I'm going to find my HTML and CSS demo folder, and there we go. It's our very first HTML web page, and this is the main body of the text of our web page. Cool. So this is our H1 object, and this is our paragraph object. Pretty simple, right? But this isn't very pretty, right? Like, we wouldn't normally want to see just like black text on a white background. It's all right aligned. So how can we actually make this a more attractive looking site? How we would do that is we would use something called a cascading style sheet, or CSS. And what CSS lets us do is, if HTML is where we are creating the different elements that are going to be on our page, whether that be an image or some text or a header, CSS is going to let us style those different elements that are on our web page. And so while CSS can actually be written within an HTML file, I find it easier and a little bit less complex to manage to do it within its own file. So you can also attach a style sheet. To do that, though, we need to put a special declaration in the head of our HTML file so it knows where to look for its corresponding style sheet. So we're going to put in this line here, which is going to link a style sheet. And it knows that its type is going to be a CSS style sheet, and its name is going to be style.css. So now this page, which is currently empty, is going to be linked to our HTML document, so it knows that, hey, when we're styling, we need to go according to the rules made up in our style sheet. So let's make the background of this page Carolina blue. So to do that, what I'm gonna want to do is I'm going to want to change the background color property of our body object, and we're going to do that in a style sheet. So what we're going to do is we're going to call on the body selector, and we're going to say for body's background color property, we're going to color it Carolina blue, and I'm gonna use the hexadecimal code for Carolina blue. If you have a specific color in mind you want to change something to, it's really easy to look up these hex codes online, and what's nice about TypeScript is it gives you a little preview of the color. So let's see what this did. Look at that, our web page is now Carolina blue, which is so much prettier than what it was before. Another important thing to note is that your HTML and CSS files need to always be saved in the same folder so they know where to look for each other. Awesome. Well, that's about it for HTML and CSS. I hope this was informative and gets you excited to be working on your projects at Hack 110 this weekend. If you want to learn more about HTML before the hackathon, I definitely recommend looking at w3schools.com. It's a great resource for all things web dev and especially HTML and CSS.